We reached profitability within the first year of operation. First full year of operations, we are profitable. I think it goes back to, I again start with the customer. So I go back to this whole golden circle that I talked about, right? The reason I like it is because in some ways I liken the why at the center, why we're doing it, to my customers, right? If we are customer focused, if we know what we're doing and why we're doing it, it is for the benefit of our customer. The second layer, which he talks about the how, I liken that to our processes, our employees, our talent, how we do that, right? And the what at the top of it, I liken that to my shareholders, right? Which is we are profitable at the end of it because we've done something good for our customers through our processes, our technology, our people to result in a profitability that is for the benefit of our shareholders.
Hello, Prakash. It is an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure, to be talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think this episode is very, very special because for everyone that doesn't know Wio's story, you guys are kind of like the fastest startup to go from 0 to 1 and profitability at the same time. So it's a fascinating story. So I'm really looking forward to the chat as such. But before we get into Wio and the topic that we'll talk all things about profitability, this podcast is all about how we can build more purpose-driven fintechs.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your take on why is it important that we talk about purpose?
Good question. So look, I'm drawn to this old, I think it's probably 15 years old now, the whole Simon Sinek, the golden circle, which talks to the what, why, how, etc. So to me, that purpose is the why. It's the thing that really, that drives you, that gives you the passion to get up and do more the next day or continue when things are challenging, right? So to me, I mean, I love, your podcast, the title where it says, purpose driven. And I'm a firm believer in having that as a key, if you will, something that drives us to get up and do something.
Yes, I agree with you because it's like two sides, right? One is it drives you to keep going and keeps you excited. And at the same time, when it's challenging and fintech is challenging, then it helps you to keep going, which is super cool. So the $1 million question then is, how do we build a purpose-driven fintech?
Good question. And I think the answer is to, as an ecosystem, if you think of an ecosystem of fintechs, I think the key is to find the right people who have that purpose, that we talked about, which have the passion to do something different. And if you then have the right capital that sits behind that ecosystem, I think that's when, purpose-driven, fintechs get generated. So there is the ideas and there's the capital, the confluence of it, if you will. And lo and behold, you get your purpose-driven.
Yes, I love your approach because, of course, you're speaking as a CFO. It's like, yeah, the capital has to be there. I love that, but it's true. It is true because I can have a ton of ideas, but if I don't have the capital to do them.
Yes.
Yes. Very, very, very good point. So tell me more about Wio and your purpose.
Sure. So look, Wio was started that it's been about, the 2 years now, 2 and something years since they've been incorporated. The purpose really for Wio is to help our customers, grow through their life journey. So a lot of times we get asked, what does Wio mean? First of all, how do you pronounce WIO? Is it Wio? It's Wio. And then what does it stand for? And the simple way I like to think of it is to say that the W in Wio stands for the life's up and downs or the corporate up and downs that our customers go through. As you have the W.
Yeah.
And then the IO being the digital, stands for digital in the Wio. So here we are a digital entity, a digital bank to help our customers go through their lives up and down. And that in a sense is the purpose of why we have Wio.
I love it because I have this saying that on why fintech is so important, that it's so simple that there's the tough truths. Tough truth, it's like someone's going to get sick, like it's the tough truths of life. And at the same time, you have like the exciting dreams and the other. And that's what
Absolutely.
makes the roller coaster, e.g. the
Absolutely.
W of Wio. I love it because you help customers in both the ups
Yeah.
and the downs.
And the downs. Absolutely.
Amazing. And then usually I one of my first very questions in the podcast is, hey, how can we have 10 times more impact in 5 years' time? But I'm going to skip that question now because I think you kind of guys found a little formula here that it's worth exploring. So just for context, you launched in September 2022.
Mhm.
By May 2024, you announced profitability.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a double record in two ways. One is, well, you went from 0 to 1, and you have customers and small businesses customers, retail and small business, and not only went from 0 to 1, but also like profitability at the same time,
Mhm.
which is impressive. So I want to really deep dive
Really?
on that. One, but I want to start not on the technical side or the business side. I want to
Mhm.
start on the mindset side. So I
Mhm.
went to Dubai FinTech Festival this May,
Mhm.
and there's something about Dubai and the people building fintech in Dubai that there was like this buzz, this energy, entrepreneurial spirit, even within the government officials, that I was like, oh my God, that's so exciting.
Mhm.
So I wanted to, and I think there's something on the mindset about like people building over there. So I wanted to deep dive a little bit, like tell us about like your mindset as a winning management team.
So I think, you touched upon a few points. One is the ecosystem itself. I think what we have in the UAE, I think, is a fantastic ecosystem that encourages entrepreneurship. As a CFO, I go back to capital. No, but the capital is there within this market for the ideas. But I think post-COVID, especially, we had a huge influx of, people coming in as, this started to become the hub. That in turn sort of got the ideas, if you will, flowing along with the capital that I talked about. And that sort of led to a whole ecosystem that is buzzing with ideas, that's buzzing with energy, and that sets within the context of a larger, if you will, a government initiatives which are pushing through digital through several government services, right? So you have this whole ecosystem that sits, then the government that sits behind it, which is also pushing, digital, that's pushing so many ideas. And so you have a perfect opportunity, if you will, for you to come in and sort of, grow here. So that's the context. That's the ecosystem. With specifically with Wio, I think we had, you start with, again, you go back to the question of, what's the problem? What are you solving? And, and this is true of the UAE. This is true of, many countries in the world, that SME, banking for SMEs has been a challenge, both from a financing and general banking, right? So that problem existed in terms of the ecosystem. The question is, how do we deal with it? If you think of banks in other regions, in other countries, the natural progression, to build a bank is to start with retail, because it's a single customer, single account. It's easy to, I won't say easy, but it's easier to build it. You then switch from the single account, so the single customer, single account, to a joint account. So you have multiple customers accessing that one account. So in effect, you sort of split out, as I call it, the authentication layer to the operational stuff. And then you say, now that you have the joint personal accounts working, you move into SME, because that is in effect what an SME account requires, right? And then SME has additional complications in terms of workflows, because some of them might say, but if it is over 100,000, I need somebody else to approve, a third person to approve it, right? So SME builds on that complexity. So the natural progression is start with retail, single customer, joint account, and then grow. I think what we did different was to flip it the other way around and say, let's start with SME. And that was hard.
Yeah.
In that sense of building something which is not the natural progression, but to flip the whole thing. But it actually solved a problem. And to me, if you were to ask me, have we actually addressed the need for the customer? I'd say absolutely yes. So we open 5,000 plus accounts a month. And this was even I'd say, 12 months, maybe 14 months since launch. We were opening 5,000 accounts. And that was the largest in the country to start with by that time. And more importantly, it was more than the second, third, fourth put together. Right? So that's as much as we sort of, grew quickly. And it goes back to, did we find a problem? Did we address the problem? And did we solve it in a manner that the customer wants it? And that, in effect, I guess, is what sort of helped us.
Yes. And the secret, I think, it's like, yes, you found the problem, you solved the problem, but at the end you said, and we solved it in the way that customers wanted. Can you expand on how that looks like for Wio?
Sure, absolutely. So opening a bank account for an SME was done previously, right? It was just taking longer. You could put more people at it and you could make it a bit shorter, right? But you flip the question and say, the data exists, like I said, in the ecosystem, because there are so many, government services that are digitized. We can get trade licenses digitally. We can get, IDs digitally. So why can we not go to the source system and get those licenses in a way that it is seamless for our customers and that it makes it much more easy for our customers? It's very easy. And this is something that, we talk about sometimes. We can build it an easy way, which is, open up multiple forms, which says, upload your trade license, upload your this, upload this.
Yeah.
And then take whatever time it takes at the back end to sort of do it manually. Or you can do it the hard way to try and integrate with the services that are out there.
Yeah.
Pull those data, pull that data in. So the point being, when you don't have data, then you go ask the customer. When you have the data, why ask the customer? Go get it from the source system. It's more reliable. It's more authentic. You don't have issues of, fraud and everything. So if you start with that mindset to say, we want to minimize what the customer has to do, and we want to do the heavy lifting as much as possible, that is in effect what the customer wants. And therefore, that is what I think, helps us, build the kind of a product that a customer wants.
Excellent. And I want to build on that. Like your CEO, in one of the press releases, Jayesh Patel, basically he said, remain focused on continuous innovation and developing advanced solutions to meet the dynamic needs of tomorrow's customers.
Mm-hmm.
There is a ton in that phrase. It's a very short phrase, but there's a ton in there to deconstruct. Yeah. So I want to start because he starts with continuous innovation. Mm-hmm. So what's your definition of innovation in Wio?
For me, innovation in general is something that we do that makes that improves a certain product, service, or even a business model for that matter. So either improve something or make something less bad. It's a simple, definition of what innovation. And again, like I said, it can be a business model that's different. It can be a process that's different. It can be a new product, in any which way. I think for us, Wio is a product-driven organization. We are there to launch cutting-edge product. And I say that with only in the context of this conversation, because I'm very hesitant to talk about products and channels typically, because it is not a language that customers understand. So I'm very keen to not talk that language to the extent possible, because if we talk the language of our customers, that's when we do better. It's simple theory. But in the context of this, let's talk products and channels.
Yes.
So that's the definition of innovation. Then the question of how do you continuously innovate, right? Continuous innovation, I think, starts with, iteration is the simplest way to think about it, right? When I look back now, the one thing we always asked ourselves questions was, are we launching a product too late into the market? Because there's a simple saying that, if a product isn't broken or, you've not launched it, fast enough. So to me, there is a balance. There is a balance in terms of how quickly you launch a product versus how much of an, MVP is a nebulous definition in some shape or form.
Yeah.
So I think when we launch a product, we want it to a degree that our customers, we call it the minimum MLP, minimum loved product, lovable product rather than the viable product. And from there on, I think you need to iterate based on customer feedback, based on what we're seeing in the market, or even based on other things. I mean, frauds, picking up. So we need to do, we take on additional security, to make sure that, things are, protected for our customers. That's a big focus for us. So things that we do thereafter, based on what we see in the market or what our customers are telling us, to me is that continuous innovation to sort of improve the product.
Definitely. And then, exactly, it's part of iteration. But he also talks about the needs of your customers of tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I love the phrasing, right? You're not building for today, you're building for tomorrow.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple of themes in there. I think when you say we deconstruct that phrase, one is how do you define tomorrow's customers, and having a slightly more futuristic look to say, look, a lot of themes there. So I'll pick a couple of those. One is everything is going digital, especially post-COVID. I think, like you said, at least in the UAE, lots of things are digital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, to have the key thing, therefore, is to build end-to-end, customer journeys that are digital, completely digital. So I'll give you a good example, and this is a personal example that I quote a lot of times. Another bank here, when I first came in here, we didn't have Wio Bank, so I set up an account with them. I wanted to, have a fixed deposit with them. The interest rates were going up, useful. All done digitally, easy enough. Lo and behold, we set up Wio Bank. I wanted to move the money out of my fixed deposit. So I go to the app. There is no way to break or change my deposit. So I call the call center and say, hey guys, I need to get this money out. And they said, sorry, we can't do it online. You'd have to go into a branch. And to me, that's a good example of how we want to, where customer journeys are broken, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the things that today we're starting to see a lot more, especially in this country, as we see there are a lot of expats that come into this country. They've had experiences from several other countries and other jurisdictions. Is what I see as an elevated digital experience, quite simply.
Yeah.
What tomorrow's customer will want, which is, give me something end to end. If I can put in a fixed deposit online, my expectation is that I can take it out online. Another example is, you have several times you have fixed deposits. If the banks tell you, but you'll have to break the whole thing and put something back in again. Like, why? Why make it difficult for the customer? If somebody puts in 50,000 and only wants 30,000 out of it, make a partial withdrawal. I mean, why make it complicated? So simple things like that we are focused on to make sure that the products that we build today serve for today, but also for tomorrow, right? End-to-end digital build. That's one theme. The second one is, things that, that Jay talked about, that the key themes that we have within, for Wio as the key strategic pillars, if you will, right? Embedded finance being one of those. And I think that is a key strategic pillar because that is what more customers will want to see.
Yes.
Why do I need to go, if, take a platform, for example, right? It got, sellers and buyers. It's got all the information for the seller. Why does the seller then need to go to a bank, download all the statements from here, give it to the bank. The bank takes, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months to come up with financing. Why not embed that journey at that point within that platform? I think that expectation is growing increasingly as a good example of embedded finance. It's something that our customers, I think, will want to see. So that's something, we're working on. So those are, typical examples of what we need to do to build for tomorrow's customers. Expectations are growing. I think in general, I think customers don't want to wait weeks anymore. I think that age is gone, and there is a need for getting things done quicker. And I think all of those themes you put together is what I would say you have the continuous innovation on what our customers are asking on one side, and on the other side you have these customers who we think tomorrow's customers are asking for all of these digital journeys, quicker, response times, all of these. So we put all of this together is I think how, we see the whole ecosystem play.
I love it because you have a very strong product foundation in the sense of you have the strong customer need and then basically the how you're going to solve that need. So
Yeah.
that on its own makes it a strong fintech, right? So now I want to shift towards CFO questions
Okay.
and profitability.
Okay.
So you've reached profitability within 2 years.
Mhm.
What was your strategic thinking behind it?
So we reached profitability, I would say, within the first year of operation. First full year of operations, we are profitable. I think it goes back to, I think I again start with the customer. So I go back to this whole golden circle that I talked about, right?
Yeah.
The reason I like it is because in some ways I liken the why at the center, why we're doing it, to my customers, right? If we are customer focused, if we know what we're doing and why we're doing it, it is for the benefit of our customer, right? The second layer, which she talks about the how, I liken that to our processes, our employees, our talent, how we do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the what at the top of it, I liken that to my shareholders, right? Which is we are profitable at the end of it because we've done something good for our customers through, our processes, our technology, our people to result in a profitability that is for the benefit of our shareholders. And to me, that's how I turn that Simon's framework, if you will, into these three components.
I like that because then basically at the end of the circle, I also love the framework, right? But then you have the why, it's the purpose, and your customers, the how is the how we do it and the processes. But the what, you were not saying, oh, and we deliver an SMS solution and a consumer solution. You were like, the what we do is we deliver shareholder value.
Absolutely. And to me, that my role as a CFO, at the end of the day, I need to deliver value. And so that's the framework. That's the framework,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I think about it. In terms of what is the magic sauce, if you will, for me, if I look back, I think the key thing goes back to that customer, right? If we deliver value for a customer, I think from day one, we've been clear that we're not offering a free service. This is not charity, right? We want to create products that are of value to our customers. And in return, we expect, customers to pay us something for it, right? And if you think of that as a simple mechanism, that is what leads to profits at the end of it. We want to make sure that our customers get the best value that they can get. And there is a bit on the overall ecosystem, if you will, overall macroeconomics, if you will. Interest rates have gone up. That helps us as well.
Yeah.
So there are other factors which help along the way. You could call them as tailwinds, whatever, it's helping out. But at the core of it has to be, are you solving a problem for your customer? And if yes, is the customer willing to, pay for that value? And put that together is what gets you your profit.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's my simple answer.
Yeah.
On how we get there.
Yeah, that's kind of coming back to first principles, right? That it's that's what you have. You solve a customer, it's valuable for them, therefore they pay. Therefore, if you optimize that equation, then you got profit. One of the key unspoken hypotheses behind that construct is we're building a service or a product that customers value.
Mm-hmm.
How do you validate that they do value the service that you're providing?
I think that's a great question. how do you know that the customer likes your product to start with? And how do you know what they're prepared to pay for it? Right? The two questions in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first one is, goes back to, what we talked about previously. What problem are we solving, right? If we are not clear about what problem we are solving, then we are all over. So we start with that and say, look, we think we have a problem with SME banking in the country. So we start there. And I'll talk to retail bank for a Wio Personal customers. Once we start solving for it, we go test with a few customers and say, hey, here is what we've done. Does this work? Do you see things that we missed out? And there's something that I want to touch upon here as well, which is what we talk a lot of as platform banking, right? We're not simply building an account for a customer. That in itself is not, that there is value there, but I dare say there is more value if you can do other things for a customer. So we have what we call as platform banking. We want to build more things for our customer than just a pure bank. So I'll give you an example in terms of what that means. So if you take that SME banking as an example, we have invoicing within the app. So a customer can send out an invoice from within the app. You can have a payment link from within the app, which means if somebody pays you, you can, connect it back to the invoice and say, it's done. I know this invoice is paid. We have connectivity into accounting software. So that helps our customers as well. We have a lot of SME customers have challenges with cash flow management sometimes, because you have, in the UAE, for example, you have rental payments, which are once a year. So there is a large spike in rental payment. And that means you need to save for it through the year. VAT, for example, comes up every quarter. You settle when you settle, depending on what, how you set up. But all of those have one common theme, which is cash flows are uneven. And saving spaces, for example, helps SME do that. You can take 5% of your receipts and put that aside as back, right? That goes away. So that's another kind of example that helps our SME. So the construct there is to provide services for our customers that are more than simple, I send money in and money out. And if you start with that notion of asking customers, what is it that you want? What else can we add to this? And being a product-driven kind of organization, we can quickly go develop that product, or better integrate that product with, partner with somebody if there is a better, product out. So which is what essentially the platform banking is about. We're not trying to build everything ourselves. Where there's a better solution out there, just partner with them, bring them in, and we're done. But for the benefit of the customer. So bring all of that together, and that's when the customers start to see value. Than simply seeing you as a plain vanilla, there's an account and so we want to build on that going forward. But that is what essentially gives us the value. But to start to say, does the customer like this? Because we got the feedback from the customer, and then you go back and test it. And you look at the market and say, what is the rest of the market charging? What is it that they're providing? What are we charging and what are we providing? And at that point, at the pricing discussion, have a conversation with the customer. Would you be willing to pay 99 dirhams to have this account? And you do that, testing, and you come back and say, this construct works. And then you start with it.
Yes. I love how customer driven you are as a CFO. There's a stereotype that it's like CFO numbers. I'm like, it seems like I'm speaking with a CPO.
No.
I love that.
For me, it's always been the customer, because without the customer, they pay my salary. So I'm forever grateful to that customer who's banking with us, because these customers help pay, our salary. They are the ones who employ us.
That's a beautiful way to see it. Like, we feel like we're doing a service to customers, but actually they pay our salaries.
Absolutely.
That's like a total mindset shift. I love that. So continue. Now I know part of the answer, because it's going to be customer. But not only it's you've designed a great product, reached profitability, but you were able to scale it very fast.
Mhm.
Like within roughly a year or so, you already had like 50,000 business customers, 40,000 consumer customers. That's still a lot. What was your thinking around it, like your growth strategy?
So anyone who's launched products, or is an entrepreneur will tell you when the rubber hits the road, uh, there is always a bit of a knot in your stomach. You don't know how it's going to go. You've done all your preparation, you've done all your testing, you've done everything that you wanted to do. But when it hits the customer, it's a different sort of feeling. So when we started, we spent a fair bit of time testing, if you will, right?
Mm.
We then did a soft launch to make sure that the customers are seeing what they want to see, rather than just saying, we think we know what they want.
Yeah.
So both of those together helped us understand and slowly ramp up on that. From a pure technology standpoint, look, we are all in the cloud. So it is easier, if you will, for us to scale up from a tech standpoint. It is harder for us to scale up from a service standpoint as quickly as a tech standpoint. I mean, you can spin up a few servers pretty quickly. You can't, hire, 10, 50 people within 2 days. And so one of the things when we started, we had to also provision for making sure we had adequate number of people on our service side. And some of it were expectations saying, if it doesn't happen, we'll figure out, but we can't be in a position where we have 10,000 customers and there is nobody to service these customers, right? Or have, substantially lower numbers. And so I think as we grow along, we've learned a bit. I think we've had some up and down in terms of how quickly we could ramp up our service. But that's another key focus. I think back to that customer, it is not just about building good products. You build good products end to end, make sure that the customer does not have to call us. But when they call us, there is a reason they're calling us. And that is not a simple, chat with me or something, and we'll figure out. Sometimes there are calls because the, customer has been impacted by fraud. So they need to be able to talk to somebody now. Money is emotional at the end of the day. And
Yes.
there is nothing worse than having a fraud on your account.
Yes.
And so we have to make sure that we're available for our customers 24/7 when our customers need us. And that to me is the second pillar, if you will, of how we can be customer-centric. Make sure that we can talk to the customers when the customers need us. And so we made a bit of investment there to make that we are ready for the kit. So those two things, I think, is what really sort of helped us as we went along and started getting. Of course, the CTO will tell you that he did a good job in terms of the architecture itself, that it is scalable and that
Yes.
it can take on examples, etc. And credit there as well. I mean, there is
Of course. Yeah, because this is teamwork. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Like building a fintech is teamwork.
No, I was going to say, touched upon a very important, I think, theme that I'm very passionate about, that this is not a one-man job. This is us as a team, and everybody has to do their part of it, if you will, which is a reason why a lot of times in corporate trainings, you see sports people come on and talk, because there is a big, I think, theme about how we work together, collaborate as a team, make sure we're winning as a team. And to me, that is really, really key. I don't think we have superstars in our team. I think we have a super team. Is how I like to think about it.
That is amazing because usually you have like the A player here and there in each department and they drive a lot. But I love that it's like we're all A player superstars. How do you then maintain that culture of innovation and high performance? What's work?
A part of it is I think, so we hired from very diverse background.
Mm.
We, and like I said at the start, a part of it is also helped because, post-COVID, we were born through COVID, if you will, right? I mean, And so things that we do today are things that are, think of remote working, think of, hybrid working, think of all the things that today's, generation wants to see in an organization. We have it because, that's how we were born in some shape or form. But then it's also continuing that. We hired a very diverse set of people we have 40 plus nationalities,
Oh,
we continuously are focused on making sure that we have that diversity, nationality, gender, experience, people from, fintech and banking background, people from non-financials because they come with a different set of skills. So that is a conscious, if you will, a mindset or a decision to sort of get those ideas through. And then there is, I think, like I said at the start, there is a focus on the top for us to grow. And I go back to the theme that I said at the start, which is we are here to help our customers grow and we want to grow along with you. Right? That to me is the simple theme that we have. And I think there's one thing that, Jay talked about recently, which I sort of resonates very well with me, which is we want good revenue. As a CFO, I know any revenue is a good revenue, but from a customer hat on, I think we want good revenue. And I'd like in good revenue, for example, the likes of subscription revenue, because the customer sees value there. To me, bad revenue is where customer, has not done something, you want to charge them on compliance fees, you want to penalize them for something. And to me, that isn't, we don't see our customers grow that way by just keeping penalizing them for stuff. So we want our customers to grow with good revenue and we want to grow with that. That is a simple thing again. That I think I'm very passionate about.
Yes, it's all about the mindset that you guys have. It's very specific ways of thinking, not of working, like very specific ways of thinking that has allowed you to build like an amazing company.
Absolutely. I think mindset culture is critical. For me, we're again, just as other example of innovation, we're very flat as an organization. We don't have hierarchy levels. And one of the things, I've probably done 100 plus interviews now with various people as they come into the organization. But one of the things I sort of consistently talk to people coming in is, do not come here for a title. Come here because you are this. I mean, and this I passionately believe about. This place pays me to learn. Right? That is what this place is. It's a university that pays me. And I say this to everybody who comes through the doors. As long as you understand that, you are golden because you're learning so much in this place and you're getting paid in the process. What's the problem? So go with it. So so if you start with that mindset, work for the benefit of the customer, let's do stuff that is, cutting edge. I think we'll do great things.
Yes. And I want to build on that you said about learning. I've been in 2 fintechs now for 10 years, right? But I think that's the common thread. Given that, let's generalize, fintechs have like smaller teams. You don't have a big bank behind you. Like the team needs to really like multitask / get exposed to projects and decision-making and problems that you couldn't in a big bank with so many people, like all this hierarchy. Like in a startup, you just have to, boom, deal with it. And that creates an amazing learning environment. And I agree with you, like the title is good for the ego. That's it. But other than that, it's like the title doesn't really matter, especially if you take advantage of all the projects and problems. Sometimes it's the two sides of the same coin, right? Like you have a challenge because you're growing or because you're not growing, like either way. And then if you embrace it, you have an amazing exposure on the type of experiences that you've had in your short stay within a startup, let's say. And that's super valuable.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
Yes. And then I want to go back to profitability. So you are one of the few, because it's few, that have reached profitability. So I have 2 questions. People have in their minds we reach profitability in month 1. And then what happens? Is it like again, like an up and down, or what are the challenges once you're like, we hit month one?
So it goes back to also, it ties in with your question on scaling as well. So I think these two are related. So in general, if you think of a big cost technology and a big cost of people, right? To run the technology or the process of the governance, right? So the two big chunky ones. Both those are not very variable, if you will, right? If I hire a person, whether I get 10 customers or 100 customers, I have this sort of.
Yeah.
There. And so there is a point, as an inflection point, as you grow, where costs will start to taper down, whereas the revenues are going up. Right? So once you've hit that profitability mark, you generally tend to see profitability improve month on month because you're scaling. You're getting more customers on board. With, I wouldn't say the same number of people, but as you grow, I mean, obviously your size will be different with 5,000 to 50,000 customers.
Yeah.
But you won't grow in the same proportion. So over time, you would have what you call as the jaws expand, right? The revenue gets higher, the costs do not go as high, but they still grow. And that is the beauty of a digital bank, because I don't need to open 10 more branches. And I can scale without having to incur all that, fixed expense as a traditional bank would to sort of, open places. So the simple answer is no. I mean, once we hit profitability, we're broadly profitable month on month. And, we are significantly more profitable now than we were last year.
Good. Congrats.
So thank you.
So if I think of the journey of a fintech, let's say the ones that started before COVID, you have 0 to 1. At some point in the ecosystem industry, we had the growth at all costs, and that damaged profitability.
Yes.
So now, post-COVID, we are recovering, and everyone is pushing for the path to profitability. We will start seeing fintechs, not the biggie ones, but like the mass number of fintechs hitting profitability. How do we call the next stage of growth? Once you're profitable, then that's a profitable growth, or how does the mindset change as a company?
To me, just back to you, I'll just expand a little bit more on what you said, because again, this is something I'm quite passionate about. So pre-COVID, like you said, we had, ever since, this is more like 2008, 9 onwards, low interest rate environment. We had periods where you had plenty of cash. You had, therefore, people focused on valuations and less on profitability. And that meant that you had people going in with focused on just acquiring customers. Yeah. Some of those acquisitions were, did I say, unprofitable, because you were just putting in, $100 to get $80 in revenue, or whatever the equivalent of that is. And I think that whole, like you said, the mindset has now changed a bit with the high interest rate, the funding. I would call this more normal, in the sense of, whereas the previous, I think, decade was more abnormal in the sense of, this was interest rates. You might argue that 5% is a bit high, but historically they've still been, 2, 3, 4%. You kind of look at average interest rate. So now that we have a more, I would say, focus on, there's a saying, again, as a finance guy, there's a saying which goes, top line is vanity and bottom line is sanity. So people are focused on profitability. People are focused on making sure that, whatever ideas that they come up with do result in something tangible at the end of it. To me, profitability is more important because it starts to make you sustainable. So back to your question of what is the next phase of growth? For me, the next phase of growth is to grow sustainably. Making sure that we're making investments for growth, focused on growth 100%, but grow in a manner that it is, that does not necessarily make it unsustainable.
Yeah.
You don't want to bet on something that does not really yield you money at the end of it.
Yeah, so it's like a long-term sustainability with the whole definition of sustainability, that's a topic on its own, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. I love that. So before, as we're approaching towards the end of the episode, I'd love to ask you like 2 to 3 fireside questions. Then before we
Okay.
go into the final question.
Okay.
So let's go for it. What's the secret to building successful products with impact?
I would say people with passion.
Ooh.
With the right people, you can do it.
Yes. If your customers are listening now, what would you tell them?
I would say, because they're my customers, I'd say, first of all, thank you for, banking with Wio. We are glad you've chosen us over other options that are out there. And I'd encourage you to continue to stay with us and try more of my products.
Amazing. Why should your customers come to you and not your competitor?
Because we're better.
Which customer review comes back to the memory as like a memorable one?
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
What's a memorable customer review that you're like, oh, yeah, that was a good review from a customer?
So there are very many interesting stories. If I can go slightly longer. So we have a multi-currency account, which lets you have GBP, euro, dollar. And then if you spend abroad, for example, if you go to the UK and spend in sterling, you debit your GBP sterling account. There were use cases that came out, which we did not, foresee. So there's a customer we've spoken to. He had a son in the US, studying in the US in the university. They had and Wio solved a very problem very easily for them because he set up a dollar account, pinged the card to his son, put it on Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever. He starts spending their debits to the dollar account as if it is a global account. The parent has full visibility on the account, which is what the parent wants. The son gets the money as and when required, right away. And this whole, parents sending kids abroad for university solution was something we never thought of when we created a multi-currency account. And sometimes, which is why I say customer feedback is important, because we suddenly realized, there is a use case here which we have not thought, and the customer found a use of it for something that we did not originally think about when we started the product. And it's a fantastic, I love that story, from the customer saying, here is how we use your product. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, because I always say that, well, we design it this way, but customers will use it however they want.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So customers will use it however they want. So think about that too. What are your top challenges then?
Top challenge for me is one of, growth. Now we are in rapid growth. So in a what I call as a hyper growth mode that we are in right now, there is challenges to make sure that we are growing, as I said before, sustainably. It's one. Challenges in making sure that as a digital bank, we're always focused on some key themes like security. Cybersecurity is key. So we will invest in the best technologies to make sure that we keep our platform, making sure that we invest in anti-fraud solutions. So these are the key things that we focus on. Apart from, just creating new products, make sure that, I come back to this whole notion of, at the end of the day, banking is a business of trust. And this whole thing about moments of truth that you call it in marketing happens every day for us when a customer reaches and opens the app. And we have to make sure that we continue to earn that trust day in and day out with our customer. And that to me is a continuing, ongoing, focus.
I absolutely love that as a kind of full circle, because it's not only you talking about being customer centric, and then finishing on trust. But I checked your Apple reviews and your Android reviews. You have like 4.8 and 5 stars.
Absolutely.
Like, it's like customers are actually voting with their stars. We love you, which is amazing. So super well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We love our customers. So thank you to our customers as well.
Yes. As a very last question, if you could change one thing in fintech, only one, that made the lives of customers, employees, and shareholders better, what could that be?
I think it's different in different markets. The answer to that question, in a market like, the UAE, I think it's making sure that we provide more services to the SMEs. So for me, SME finance is a key problem that's out there that we want to focus on, that we want to help solve for the ecosystem for the country. Other markets, will have different, Sub-Saharan Africa will have a different problem to solve for. Other markets will have different problems. But for the UAE, the number one thing that we are focused on is making sure that we have credit product out there for our customers, because that's the need of the hour for a lot of it.
Amazing. And the UAE is a very fast-growing country as well.
Absolutely.
So SMEs are part of the rock of most economies. Prakash, it's been an amazing chat. Thank you for your time and your wisdom. Yeah, it's been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you for having me. I think it's a great conversation. Sometimes as you talk these through, you think about a certain things which are very useful. Thank you for the time.
Definitely. Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, everyone, and see you next week. Ciao, ciao.